Hi guys, it's Debbie with Debbie J's Crafting Corner, and I've got something a little bit different, and well, I say that too much. I do have something different, something I've never done before, and it should be fun, and I'm going to be watching some videos to see exactly how to work this. But I've got the new collection from Spellbinders that is part of Susan's Garden Club. So this is the Oriental Lily and Wellies die set from Spellbinders. We've got some boots here. Those are your I think it's Wellington. Not sure, but we've got your wellies down here, and then we've got all the pieces that you need to create some realistic looking lilies. So we've got two different petal dies and some leaves, and then the stamens for in the center. I still had some of that ink smush scraps from my last card, so I'm using that to cut out the petals for my flowers. I'm using both of the dies. You do need to use one of each of the petal dies, and I'm also cutting out the stamens out of a piece that looked to me like it was somewhat green. However, it doesn't look like it had quite enough, so I'm coloring the stamen piece with one of my light green markers. You could use any kind of a green marker. And then I'm using the Autumn Red Nouveau drops to add some color to the ends of the stamens. What I've seen that Susan has done for hers is she uses a powder that is kind of, I don't know, like pollen. I don't have any of that, so that's why I'm using the Nouveau drops. Now I'm coloring up or getting my petals ready to try to shade. One of the things that are on most lilies are some freckles along the pieces. Now, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just putting down some dots, and it seems to look okay after everything's done. Now I'm going to start shaping my petals. I did use one of my shaping tools, I don't really use these that much, to draw the veins down the center of the petals, and now I'm using a ball tip to kind of shape and break down the fibers around the edges of those petals. There is a set of tools that is specifically designed to work well with this, but I don't have that, so I'm just using what I've got. Next, I'm going on to shape the petals a little bit more. I'm using my reverse tweezers to kind of make it so I can shape that center. I'm just bending the petal around that, and then I'm going to place it on my I'm trying to remember what this foam pad is called from Sizzix. I don't know that it's available anymore, but I'm using that. I'm thinking if you have a thick mouse pad, that would work just as fine. And I'm using the end of that ball stylus to just shape the edge of it, and I'm amused at how well that actually works. It looks good. So I do that for all three sides, and I go ahead and do the whole process again on the other die cut petals piece for this one. So now that those pieces are basically shaped right, I'm pressing them down with one of my stylus tools to give a really deep well in the center of the lily. Now I'm putting a little bit of glue in the center and then placing the other one in. Then I'm going to set them to the side and actually in a little container to try to keep the shape somewhat and let them dry a bit. Next, I'm going to work on the leaves. I'm taking a couple of my Spectrum Noir markers, a darker and a lighter color, and I'm going to go ahead and just put a little bit of coloring on them to add a little bit of extra dimension, I guess. I did cut these out of some white cardstock, so they did need to be colored somewhat. So I'm putting some dark green down the center, and then on the tips using a flicking motion. I get better at it as I go along. And then I'm going to go back over the whole thing, front and back, with some of that lighter green. After coloring the flowers, we want to add the veins in. So I'm using a fairly sharp, and being careful, tip on my stylus to draw a a line down the center vein, and then I'm putting in a few little lines around the edges, you know, from the outside inside to get those additional veins for my bleed, and then I fold it in half. And I am shocked and amazed at how realistic this actually winds up looking. This is, like I said, something I have never tried before, and it is looking so nice. I am very, very pleased. So I'm now going to go ahead and put together the stamen piece. Now, I did put some of the Nuvo drops on the front and back of each of the stamen tips, so we've got that red piece there and gave it plenty of time to dry. And now I'm going to roll it up. The way you do that is you put your tweezers down at the basically little handle end that's sticking out there, and you wrap it around. Now, I'm learning the hard way that you probably want to move the tip a little bit from the end, just a little bit down the shaft of your tweezers, so that you got a wider piece there, so that when you try to release it, you've got something to work with. I'm holding on to the ends there and trying to give it a little bit of a chance to hold, and then I'm kind of doing what I do with a curling iron, where I'm wanting to release but not fully release my hair. So I squeeze that little tip there and opened it up a little bit and just slid it out, and it worked. It's sometimes stick, but you just keep on trying. Now I'm going to go ahead and start putting all of my flowers in my wellies. Now the wellies, what I did for that is I die cut that out of a piece of green pattern paper, inked up all of the edges to give it a little bit of dimension in green for most of it, and then down at the bottom I decided to add some dark brown to add a little mud to the bottom of the wellies. Then I covered it in some ultra thick embossing powder from Ranger and heated that up, and it looks like rubber. I love this look, and this is one of those things that's been in my stash forever and I've never used. Now I'm adding my flowers in. Now this part was a little bit tricky for me, mostly because I expect to press things down to make them hold. So what I'm having to do here is I'm adding a lot of glue, and I'm having to hold it in place long enough for it to hold a little bit. Once it's holding okay, then I can go on to the next. And for this project, I'm using my art glitter glue, which works really well and really holds pretty fast. So as I'm putting everything together, it actually is sticking pretty much, but I am letting it sit to the side and dry for quite a while. So I'm arranging my flowers, and I'm arranging a bunch of leaves. It's a good thing I made a lot of them around this to give it some of that depth. And I am amazed at how well this worked. If you have not tried this before, you should give it a try, and I believe that you will be shocked and amazed at how well it's going to look. So I do put 3 flowers into each of the boots. I arrange them in a way so they're basically holding onto each other and holding onto the card. And that is going to finish up this card. It is just beautiful the way it turns out. I absolutely love it. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope my card inspires you to create some awesome projects, and I would love to see what you create. So come join us in my Facebook group, Crafting with Debbie, and show us your creations. There's a link in the description box below. Here are some other videos that I know you'll enjoy. Thanks again, and remember, if I can make it, you can too.